Hello, and welcome to another episode of the BOU Connect podcast. Here, we break down the complex world of economics, finance, and central banking into easy to digest, relatable conversations. My name is Pumla Nabachwa, and I'm your host. At Bank of Uganda, we celebrate International Women's Day throughout the month of March. So, happy Women's Month! Being a woman in the workplace is more than just showing up. It's about leading, balancing, and breaking barriers. And who better to unpack this conversation than my guest today, Mrs. Josephine Okwi Osia. Yes, among the many accolades and hats that she wears, because if I start to list them all, we'll sleep here. So for the purposes of this conversation, I'm only going to highlight the two of the titles that she wears. She is the CEO of Capital Markets Authority, as well as a board member at Bank of Uganda. You are very welcome to the BOU Connect podcast, Josephine.
Thank you, Pumla.
Yes.
And it's a pleasure to be here.
It's just a pleasure to be in your presence, a woman in leadership. So just for the purpose, to educate our audience, I would like to explain that the colors of Women's Day are purple and green. Purple represents justice and dignity, while green, that Josephine and I are wearing, symbolizes hope, hope for a future where women will have equal rights and opportunities. So now that we all know one new thing today, I think let's start the conversation. But before we dive in, Josephine, can you share with us one fun thing about you or that you like that most people don't know?
Well, I like to travel and I like to know my country. So I think I'm one person who's been to almost every point of this country. I've been to Kisoro, I've been to Bundibujo, I've been to Kasese, I've been to Kidepo, I've been to Moyo, I've been to Koboko, name it. I've tried to travel my country and that I love doing. Yes. I've been to almost all the game parks in this country. So local tourism is my thing.
Okay, that's encouraging, I think, to the Ugandan audience, because I thought I loved to travel, but maybe not. I think you win on this one. Okay, so your career is inspiring. It really is. What is a lesson that you have learned in leadership, and what advice would you give to ladies or to women who are trying to rise up in their careers?
Leadership for me, I think the key lesson is about being authentic. That is the key thing. If you are a leader, you need to be authentic. You can't pretend, you can't act. So I think for me, being authentic, who you are, who you really are, it's what will help you in leadership. And then secondly, leadership is about being able to speak up, not for yourself, but for others as well, because there are people who are relying on you to speak for them. So for me, I think that is what stands out. You must always be able to speak up for others because you're their voice. Yeah.
Oh, that's and I do own testament to that, because I have realized that when you are authentic, you don't have to, because you're not acting,
Yeah.
it's your natural self. You don't have to remember
Yes.
the things that you said, the things that you did, because you're just walking in your truth.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I think I have seen you practice this. You work so flawlessly and effortlessly. So let's talk about maybe challenges. As a woman in finance and in leadership as well, what challenges have you faced along your career path, and how did you navigate them?
I think the biggest challenge for me has been bias against women. Now there are a number of women in finance, But by the time I joined finance, we were very few. And I think it was felt that that was a men's job. And then more so, I started my career in audit. Auditors are not very liked people. Yeah, they are not liked at all. Yeah. So, and that's where I started. So, you're going to audit this department. It's headed by a man. And my real first experience, I was working in National Water with engineers. So you're here and you're asking them questions, and they're thinking, what does this girl know? How can she come and start asking? So that's the first thing. Bias against and stereotyping and saying she shouldn't be here, she should be doing something else, she should be maybe a secretary or something. So for me, that has been one of the challenges. And then the other one is now finally when you get into family life, balancing work and the family and the relationship. You know, when the kids are sick, it's almost thought the mom is the one who's supposed to go to the clinic with the children. You're the one who's supposed to pick them up, you know. And we've come a long way. We've come a long way. Now I see people sharing the roles very easily. But even us who were kind of brought up with that mindset that you're the woman, you must do this, you must cook, you must. So balancing that whole equation of I'm supposed to be at work, but also I must cook food for the family, I must look after the children. So that balance, it can be quite challenging. Yes, very challenging. And then the other one also, because you're in certain positions, you need to have networks. But because of the responsibilities that you have, you're always running home. There's a work cocktail, but I have to pick children. So I have to disappear and go and pick the children. So you miss that opportunity to interact. It could be maybe with your board, your senior management. But so you're caught in between. So you fail to grow the networks that would actually help you advance. Yeah, because there are certain other things that you need to do. For me, I found those are the challenges because those are very key in propelling you forward.
Yes.
Yeah.
So how would you say you navigated? I can see you shared that these days people kind of are learning to support each other, which wasn't really the case when you were starting out.
Yeah.
So how did you really navigate? Because you're here now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True. So for the bias thing, you have to be bold. You have to be courageous enough to stand up and say, this is my job and I'm supposed to do it and I'll do it as best as I can, regardless of the various snide comments that might be made. You're focused. That's your job. You're ambitious. You stay focused on the course and say that starts to become background noise. Yeah. And once people start to realize that this one is not relenting, then they start to oblige as well. The work-life balance, you need support system. I cannot overemphasize the need for a support system. You know, we are not superwomen. Never try to be superwoman because you won't manage. You need a support system, whether it's sisters, parents, friends. You need a support system to help you. And that work-life balance is not about a perfect balance, but it's just about being intentional on what you want to achieve. And as I always say, sometimes it will be skewed towards one side, but you just need to know and be intentional and have that system that kind of helps you. And that system will also help you with attending those events where you network. Because you say, okay, maybe Pumla, pick for me my kids. You know, someone in the school, pick for me my kids today, I'll pick yours tomorrow. So you have that collaboration, you have that system that kind of supports you. And of course, usually you need to have a supportive partner. Because if I wouldn't be here if I didn't have a supportive partner, that I have to say for sure.
Thank goodness. Yeah, that is okay. So be bold, and we need a support system. No woman is an island. We work better together. All right. So let's talk about confidence in women. I know for a fact, and I know you do too, that a lot of women struggle with confidence. And this can be whether personal, in their personal spaces, or in their careers, or in their business spaces. What would you tell a woman who's trying to step up but feels held back by self-doubt?
Self-doubt is for all of us. Even me to this date, I still get moments where I doubt myself. But for me, my mantra is I'm not ready, but I'm learning. You see? So I go in with that attitude that I don't know it all. but I'm in the process of learning, and all of us are learning. So that helps you. So you step out nonetheless, even if that inner voice, that inner critic voice is there, but you just be intentional and continue doing what you have to do, because along the way you learn. None of us is perfect. So you just have to accept that we are not perfect. And I'll tell you that for women, let's take, for example, a job interview or there's a job opportunity. As women, we want to tick all the boxes before we put in the application. The men just need 50% of that and then they'll put in the application. You know that? So
20%,
yeah,
Josephine, even.
even 20. The moment they see they have one, two, three things of this job, they'll apply. For us, the women, we want to tick every box before we apply. We are all learning. You will learn anyway. You have the capability to learn. So we just have to self-doubt. There will never be a moment when you will never have self-doubt, but confidence is just knowing that I am learning and I'm able to do these things. Celebrate small wins. Yeah, and and have a group that have a cheerleading group that cheers you on. You know, when they say, Pumla is doing this, yes, and you have your friends there who are cheering, yes, go Pumla, go Pumla, you can do it, you can do it. You need that group of friends. Yeah, who will always put that confidence for you. You don't isolate. And sometimes when we get into some leadership position, we kind of want to get isolated. But you need that group of people who will always cheer you on. It helps a lot in terms of your confidence. But also know what you're doing. Make sure that you have the technical skill for it. Yeah, so that anyone challenges you, you have a good response for them. So read, make sure that your skills are up. You have sharpened your saw enough, yeah, to be able to do the work.
Yes, and I like that technical skill build, because it also helps with a bias. Because if people are biased and they're stereotypical, then you have to prove to them otherwise.
Absolutely. Prove them wrong.
Prove them wrong,
Yeah.
and the only way you can do that is to know your stuff.
Know your stuff, deliver.
But where do you think you get your confidence from, Josephine? Because I've found two schools of thought. I found people who say, no, confidence is innate, it's inbuilt, or some people get it through how they were raised. And then other people say, no, it's a muscle. You can build it at any time. What do you think?
For me, I feel that confidence, you learn to be confident. You learn to be confident. And the environment that you're in will then support that learning for you to be able to become confident. I am the youngest in the family, but I also grew up fighting for space because we were 8 of us. So by the time you come, there are 7 other people. So you have to kind of keep saying, I'm here. I'm also here. So and one of the things for me, I think I did was trying to excel in school. Yeah. So that, yeah, she's done well in school. So yeah, that was, for me, that was one of my trump cards. But going back to confidence, really, it's in the environment that we are. Sometimes parents, we kill our children's confidence by the things that we say. Maybe the child has messed up and then you say, you're not good enough, or we have to watch what we say. So the environment contributes a lot to the confidence the level of confidence. You could even be in the boardroom, and if you have a board that is always putting you down, you'll also start to feel you're not good enough. But if you have a board that lifts you up, then it also encourages you to do that. If you have colleagues who lift you up, then you have a supervisor who lifts you up. You make an error, but they teach you and they encourage you. Those are the things that build confidence. Yeah.
Josephine, I love to talk about finances, and I like to help women grow better in the financial decisions they make. What I have found is that many more women are earning money now, but people are still struggling with financial independence. Financial independence meaning the ability for women to take care of themselves on their own and their dependents. What advice would you give? What are the key financial habits you would advise every woman to have and follow?
First of all, pay yourself first. We make money, eh? And then we are sorting out everybody else. We've sorted out the children, we've sorted the husband, the home, but we forget to pay ourselves. So we need to learn to pay ourselves first, at least 10% or 20% of your income. Put it aside and say, this is for Josephine, this is for Pumna. Whatever you do, whatever you want to eat, you can use it for travel, you can use it for whatever. But I think it's important for us to learn to pay ourselves first. That's the first thing. And then the second one is, now once you've put money aside, don't just save it. If you keep it in a bank account, how much are you going to earn? Maybe 3%. Learn to invest that money. Yeah. And now, as capital markets, we have opportunities for you to invest. And there's simple things like collective investment schemes. You can actually put a standing order on your account for it to go straight into a collective investment scheme. Make that money multiply. Invest. You can do that. That is passive investment. But you could also invest maybe in other things like houses. I know most of us like to put money in land, but it can be cumbersome. In the meantime, just put that money where it is earning an interest. Invest the money. Thirdly, I think the other one I would say is try and have multiple streams of income. Have a small side hustle that you do. That could come out of what you like to do. Some people like to bake, others like to maybe decorate, others like to make clothes, others, anything that you like to do, others like to teach. So make money out of that hobby, that passion that you have. Have a small side hustle to supplement your income. So in the event that this one is not available, you have something that is going to continue bringing you some income. And then while you do this, also set some financial goals. We like to make resolutions, but let's set a financial goal and say, maybe by the end of this year, I should have saved this amount of money. Write it down and start to track. Yeah. And that is what will grow the discipline. And once you see that money starting to grow, it will become addictive because you're seeing, the money is growing. It's important that you have a target. Don't just save. Have a target that you're aiming at. And once you achieve that the first time, I'm telling you, the rest will be history. And then let's learn to budget. But women, we need to learn how to budget. We go into a supermarket with a shopping list, and then we go and buy everything else except what is in the shopping list. Yeah, we need to learn how to budget our money and manage our expenses. So at the beginning of every month, you should know how much I want to spend on my expenditure. And because you've been spending over time, you'll have an idea. And we also have to distinguish between what is a need, what is a want. So at least on your expenses, 50% should go to needs. Then maybe provide another 30 or 20% for wants. And then the other, you should at least maybe save it and maybe emergency, things like that. But we need to differentiate needs from wants. Sometimes we're spending on wants and
leaving out the needs.
Yes, exactly. And leaving out the needs.
Then you come and look for your friend to borrow money.
To buy food.
Get your nice shoes.
That is. And then the other one also, we need to, I know insurance in this country has not penetrated much. But it's important. If your workplace doesn't give you health insurance, try and have health insurance for you and your family. That is one. Two, guys, we need to plan. Estate planning. We fear wills, but it's important to have a will, to know that your people will be taken care of when you're not there. I think that is a culture that in Uganda we have not yet embraced, but it is so important, even for your children, particularly our children. We need to be able to cover them and help them while we are not in this, when we are not around. And then finally, surround yourself with financially smart people. They always say, tell me your friends and I'll tell you who you are. Put smart financial people around you so that you learn and how they are doing it, how they are making it. There'll be challenges, but they'll encourage you. But now if you have friends who are spenders, you'll spend.
You'll spend.
Yeah.
This is true.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like you preached a gospel here. We had an episode on setting financial goals, and everything you have said, we tried to cover, except the one of wills, because we know Ugandans are not ready for that one. But I think if we keep pushing the narrative,
yes,
people will open their eyes.
Absolutely.
A narrative that we've pushed, and I feel more people are entering, is the one of investing.
Yes,
collective
yes.
schemes,
Investment schemes. Yeah,
schemes.
absolutely.
Yes. We talk about unit trusts. A Bank of Uganda podcast, we talk about two main things: investment in treasury bills and treasury bonds.
Exactly.
And unit trusts. And every time we speak about unit trusts, we refer people to the Capital Markets Authority website.
Yes.
Because they're the regulators
Yeah.
of those schemes. We don't, Bank of Uganda doesn't regulate them. It's CMA that regulates them. And on their website, even me, I always have to go to the CMA website
To see who is
is regulated. Because people like to ask us, who can you suggest for me, recommend? And I tell you, I don't have the power to recommend. I don't have the mandate. Because if I recommend for you something and something happens, so you have to choose for yourself. To do the research,
Yes.
do the due diligence.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you've spoken about side hustles and monetizing our passions.
Yes.
So say that I have a full-time job. And a full-time job can mean that I'm employed somewhere, or I am a full-time mom, or stay-at-home mom, or stay-at-home wife. How would you say I can go about starting a business on the side, or go about entrepreneurship while also maintaining my full-time job?
You know, your full-time job is probably 8 to 5?
Usually.
Yes. And you don't work over the weekends?
Yeah, mostly.
True. So you have that after 5. You also have your weekends. And you know, there's someone who told me once that the things that you do when you're out of work, so over the weekend, when you're on leave, that is the most probable thing that you'll be doing when you retire. And all of us know as sure as day that we have to retire one day. So we have to start thinking about the things that we are going to do when we retire. People die quickly when they retire if they have nothing to do. Because you've come from this high activity environment, then suddenly you're waking up and there's nothing to do. So these side hustles, apart from giving you money, they help to prepare you for a day when you're not in that job or when you don't have that thing that you're doing. So for me, that is twofold. So we just need intentionality. All of us in this world have 24 hours. Whether you're the president, whether you're the CEO, it doesn't matter. We all have 24 hours. How you utilize that 24 hours is what matters. So be intentional and say, yes, I'll give my employer the 40 hours a week, maybe plus or minus, but I have to start thinking about myself. At the end of the day, it's about you. It's about you. It's about your family. Yeah.
Okay, that is. I felt goosebumps when you said that. People don't like to talk about a time after, and because they don't like to talk about it, they don't prepare for it.
We keep kicking the can down the road, hoping that it never comes, but it will come.
It is inevitable.
It is inevitable that it will come.
It will come.
Yes.
Okay, so I like that whole preparation. So we all have 24 hours in a day, and we're not always exercising at 24 hours. So we should start thinking beyond these 8 to 5s that we have and see how we can fill our time. Or because one day that after 8 to 5 is going to be our entire life. So we need to do things about that. Okay, I love that. I'd also like to talk about, you talked about, there's something you said in the beginning about, I've had people say that it gets lonely at the top. I found a struggle for women being that while we're chasing our careers and our dreams, we find a problem balancing our ambition and our personal lives. And personal lives can go beyond. People like to ask the question of how do you balance your work? How do you do work-life balance? But mostly they're asking, how are you balancing your family?
Exactly. That's what they're asking.
That's what they're usually asking you, because women should naturally be the ones nurturing their homes. And if you're spending more time in your professional role, then how are you doing the other work that is meant for you? But mine, I want to put that as one segment. You said that you have a supportive partner. There's this other part of just your personal relationships with other people, even friendships. I've watched friendships die because there's that friend in the circle that rose. And now maybe they're not isolating you per se intentionally, though some do, but there just seems to be a natural progression that now I'm here. So how do you be here and still be able to balance everything and bring things up to where you are and have a healthy, ambitious, and career-driven life, but also still maintain that society and circle, that supportive society and circle in your personal relationships?
I think for me, the thing that sometimes we get mixed up, because there's Josephine, the CEO, but there's Josephine, the Josephine who has always been there.
Yeah.
And if you mix it up and confuse that Josephine, the CEO, is Josephine, that's where you're going to get trouble. But you also have to be able to identify that there will be friends who are friends of Josephine, the CEO, but friends of Josephine. So you should be able to really tell that distinction. There are people who will come to you because now you're the CEO. Do not get carried away, because that day you're not CEO, they will vanish. They'll be completely gone.
That's it.
But then you always have to remember your girlfriends who have been there, those people who have been there through the thick and thin. When you used to walk, you used to use taxis, you have to always remember those friends. You have to value those friendships. And that comes with being intentional. Career is ambition, focus, but for friends, it needs presence. You have to be present. You have to make time for your friends. Even if it's a coffee for 1 hour, but you have to, however busy you are, Pumla has an issue. Even if you show up there for just 10 minutes, it's important. It is important to be there for your friends. And that's how you'll maintain those friends. And you have to be intentional about it. Because if you're not, you can get carried away. You're traveling, you have a meeting, you have what. But it's always, for me, what I do, I log everything in my calendar. I know when my friend's birthday is, it will prompt me. I know when their anniversaries are, it will prompt me. If I have to meet someone for coffee, I will put it in my calendar that meet Pumla for coffee on this date. Saturday, I have to visit someone. Everything now, and the phones help us. So I diarize everything so that I don't get carried away and I forgot. And these phones will prompt you. So for me, it's really about being intentional, but it's also about being authentic. Who are you? Who are your people? Know your people. Know your people, know your family. Because when all is said and done, those are the guys who are going to be there for you. So it's really about intention. Let's not pretend to be too busy for our friends and for our family. And once you're there with them, be present. So for me, one of the things I do is usually I will take a month off from after Christmas into the new year. And I spend time with my family, with my girls. We go, we do things, and they know it that this 1 month, mommy is around. We are going to do things that we want to do. And even the weekends when I have time, or even some evenings, I have dates with them. We go, we have a meal. You just have to be intentional in this life. Otherwise, you'll get carried away.
You get carried away.
And you forget the most important people to you.
Yes. Yeah. I like the be present part, because I can push the be present one step further. I like that you said be intentional, and when you make time for them, be present. Because what I have seen some people do, I have friends who are guilty of this, is you'll go out for a coffee date as your 3, 4, 5 girlfriends, they're on the phone with work. It's work. It's not that they are doing other things, social activities. They are still at work. They are still progressing in their careers while they're with you.
And then take it
then
further.
They tick a box.
I was with
Pumla. I was with Josephine. Yeah. But were they really there? They were not. An hour. Someone can be on the phone for an hour in a Teams meeting, but they've ticked a box in their personal calendar that I was there. Yeah. So
for me, the one that really takes me off is at home. Mm-hmm. So you're at home and you're supposed to be chatting and people on their phones. So for me, my girls, when we're having dinner, you put the phone there. They're adults, by the way.
Yes.
But we agreed, you put the phone.
Yeah.
Let's chat.
I'm having a challenge with that. Maybe we need to talk more. Yeah. I'm having a big challenge with that.
We can't be on the dining table and then you're on your phone. Let's just put the phones aside. Yeah.
Let's chat.
Okay. Yeah.
So Josephine, you've spoken a lot about support. And true to that, we hear a lot around us about women need to support women. But can you offer us some practical tips that we can use on how we can apply this support, whether in the workplace or in our personal lives or anywhere.
I think for me, the way, let me just talk about how I do it. So for me, when I'm asked, for example, do you know anyone we're looking for someone for a board position? I nominate women. I am that biased. The men have to forgive me. I always nominate women because I feel it's an opportunity for them as well. So to create those opportunities for fellow women, whenever you can, that's what I do. Secondly, I also try and support women. If there is a woman candidate for a position, I try and rally my support behind the woman, as long as she demonstrates capability. For me, I'll always prefer the woman. Of course, sometimes we work for a bit as women, but for me, as long as someone demonstrates capability, my preference should always be a woman. And then the other thing is that I encourage women to talk about pay, to talk about negotiating their money, because that is one of the areas of inequality when it comes
A
to
big area.
Yes, sometimes you find two women doing a man and a woman doing the job, but the lady is paid less. So I've always encouraged women that when they make an offer to you, negotiate. The worst they can say is no, but negotiate about it. And my daughter recently got an internship. She finished university, so they were giving her 600,000 for it. And then I told her, go and ask for more. The worst they will say is no. Well, she went and asked for more. She got 1 million. So women, we need to learn how to negotiate. Ask. Sometimes we fear.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Usually we fear.
So when an opportunity is, I will tell her, do you think that's good enough? Go back and ask. And then the other way I do it is also to try and create safe working environments for ladies. Yeah, so have maybe a group for women where we talk about our issues, our challenges freely. So you create that environment within the workplace, and also support the mothers. Allow flexi time for them. Allow them to work from home if the child is ill. I mean, COVID taught us that now you don't need to be in the office all the time.
Physically
All the time. You can actually deliver when you're outside. So encourage them to take up those opportunities. And sometimes I also speak to them and tell them that, my friend, you're not superwoman. Get help. I have some people who, I don't want house help. I will do it myself. No, you can't. You're going to break. If you're working, you have a family, there are children to pick, children to get ready for school, then you have to cook. Please have mercy on the woman, on yourself. So I always speak to them and say, it doesn't mean that you're a bad wife or you're a bad mother if you get help. Yeah. And sometimes as women, it's just to encourage each other about, what challenges are you having? Do you need help? How can I help you? Even my friends, do you need help? Yeah. You could see someone struggling, but they're not asking. So you just ask them, what do you want me to do for you? Yeah. And usually when you ask, then they will tell you yes. So those are some of the ways for me I try to encourage them. But also, I think sometimes we need to call out what I would call sometimes we are selfish and we think that I should be the only one at the table. What would I call that? Maybe Queen Bee, like Queen Bee syndrome, where the queen is the queen. You're the only one there. Yeah. But we need to be able to say that there's enough room for all of us. Yeah. There's enough room for all of us. So if you can lift a woman up, lift her up. Lift her up. And for me, I always said, some of us, what keeps me going is I have to show the people behind me that it is possible. It is possible. And it should be easier for the guys after. It should always be easier, because as we've gone through that, it should be easier. Like at our time, you couldn't open your mouth if you are sexual harassment. No one would look at you, what's wrong with this woman? But now people can talk about sexual harassment and actually get recourse for it. Yeah. personally, I had to leave my first job because of sexual harassment. But I couldn't say anything because the whole boardroom was full of women, or full of men. So who was I? Who was going to understand? And I kept asking myself, even if I went and told the MD, who would he believe? Me or his fellow man on that board, on that committee, on that in Exco? So I just opted, okay, I'll move on. But now there are opportunities for people to raise these things. So for me, my theory is we have to pave way for the ones after us. Surely it has to get easier.
When you walk through that door,
Yes.
leave it open. So that
Absolutely.
other
For another
people-
woman to
another
walk in
woman to
and let
walk
her
in.
find it
Let her find it
easier than
easier,
today.
because even
Absolutely.
you,
Yeah.
there are women who came before you, even if you were struggling,
But there were those
there were
who
those who
yes,
will fought in the dust, even
absolutely.
worse.
I don't know if we looked at our mother's generation, if there were any people who were accountants.
No, who? They were all men.
Yeah, but our mothers encouraged us. Go and study.
Yes.
Go and do this.
Boring men
Yes.
who wore only grey and black. But now see,
Yeah.
we have pals.
Yes.
You know?
So yeah.
Yeah.
So we have to be practical and not just talk about it. And for me, the one that really hurts me is when women, we want to bring ourselves down. We are always the ones who are talking about, she's like this, she's like that. If she has an issue, tell her. Don't go and broadcast it for everybody to know. Tell her, take her to the side, tell her. She might not like it, but tell her. Don't embarrass her by telling the whole world about it. Yeah.
Okay. I want to, women supporting women. I'm a living testimony to your truth. Josephine was a CFO at Bujagali Energy Limited, and last year. And for Women's Day, I got a phone call from one of her staff, and who said, Pumla, we have an opportunity for you. Your name was seconded by our CFO. So I asked, and I was so far removed from that reality at the time. So when it's CFO of Bujagali, like how, who? We said, no, we were asked that you needed a woman to come and speak to you, who you can relate with, who can empower you. There's a lady called Pumla Nabatwa. Go and look for her contact. So we are calling you. Unfortunately, last year, I was booked, so I couldn't go. But imagine, they called me this year again and said, we are going back to the recommendation of our former CFO. And they called me early this time. They called me early so that I wasn't booked. And indeed, I was in Ginger last week. Last week, empowering your staff. And I told them, I'm going to see your former CFO. And they told me to send you greetings and love. And they said they really miss you.
I'm glad you got to speak to them.
They said, no, you came highly recommended. I kept wondering, where did Josephine see me? Where did she? Papa's like, you know what? If a woman is looking out for other women, women speak to women. We relate to each other better. So I found so empowered by that confidence that you go. There's a lady out there who can speak to you, and it showed me that you wanted your women staff to be better.
Yes,
and you wanted to empower them. It spoke volumes to me. So at least I know that is a practical tool that you not only practice, but we can share with other people. So to close off, I just want us to go through a quick but fun segment. Now we are done with the hard things. Easy for you, I'm sure. So I just want to wrap this up with a fun challenge. So I'm going to say a phrase, and then you say the first thing that comes to your mind, whether it's a sentence or a paragraph, but what you think of first.
Okay.
So let's start light. Tea or coffee?
Coffee.
Coffee?
Yes.
Really? Okay.
First thing in the morning.
First thing in the morning. How do you like it? Strong?
Medium, but with some cream.
Medium, but with some cream.
Yes.
Okay, coffee. What is your guilty pleasure after a long day?
After a long day.
Yeah.
Milk tea with bread.
What?
And you know all these things where they say, oh, for us now at a certain age, you shouldn't do milk, you shouldn't do sugar, you shouldn't do bread. But that milk tea with bread.
Do you dump it in?
African tea with bread. You can even dunk
the bread.
Yes.
Oh my God. That's a guilty pleasure indeed. The best career advice you've ever got.
I think the best career advice I could imagine, it was from a man. The thing was like, you have to keep trying, never give up. Never give up. And it was an Indian man. He was my boss at the time when I was in BAT. And you'd take him work and he would tell you, this is good work. He would never put you down. He would correct you and tell you, you go and do it again. But for me, he kept saying, never give up. You'll get there. You'll get there. Keep doing what you're doing. You'll get there. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Never give up.
Never give up.
Keep doing what you're doing.
Exactly.
And you've carried that.
Yes, I have. I have carried it. Yeah.
Okay. Best career advice. The last one thing you tell your daughters about life.
Life has to be lived. You must enjoy your life. You must live your life to the fullest in all aspects, whether it's career, whether it is family, whether it is spiritual. Live your life to the fullest, because this is not a rehearsal. It is the real thing. There's never going to be another life. There's never going to be another day like this. Yeah? So make sure that you live your life and be true to yourself.
Okay. Yeah. Yes. So Josephine, what, in commemoration of International Women's Day and month, what final remarks do you have for the women listening to you?
Women were able to do this. We're able to do this because we have the ability, we have the capability and the skills to be leaders and to break these barriers. Let's not shy. Forget the issue of self-doubt. You will learn as you go along. So let's just go with the mantra that I am learning and I will get there.
I'm learning and I will get there. Thank you, Josephine. Very inspiring. This has been a refreshing conversation. I've picked 4 main things here. The first one, you started with it and you ended with it. Be authentic. Be authentic, be true to yourself. Number 2, be bold. Be courageous. Be confident. Number 3, no woman is an island. We need each other. We need to support each other. There is nothing like superwoman. So that had to remove it. I struggle with that one, I will confess, but I'm learning. And the 4th one, I'm not perfect, but I'm learning. That one has stayed with me. I'm not perfect, but I'm learning. Thank you for your wisdom, and most importantly, the real life tips. Some people come here and just speak, in theory, but I felt you've given us real life tips that we can apply in our day-to-day lives. Thank you so much, Josephine.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Yes. And we will come back another time. And to all the women out there, whether you are progressing in your career or running a business or raising a family, you are strong, you are capable, and you are deserving. And to the men that support us, our men allies, we see you, we appreciate you, and we do thank you. And to end this episode, if you have found this episode helpful, please remember to like, to comment, and to share with a friend. Don't forget to subscribe to the BOU YouTube channel for more inspiring conversations. Until the next time that BOU connects. Bye.